What's up? It's your boy Kevin to turn on this motherfucking YouTube shit. Wow, what the fuck?
What's up? It's your boy Can't Tell YouTube shit. Hey man, say man, we are Listen to me. Turn. Change one day. Showing outside big crib in the gang, showing outside shit, man. Free Palestine, free Congo, Russia, your thing, and take stand the fuck up. Any days you know to be a better version of yourself. Never let's not bring down, always fight back. Never let's not tell you you are, but also put yourself in a position of alone. Let's stay humble. It's a revolution on the movement. Keep Yahweh first. Coming to the Black Hebrew Israelite as a real Jew. We out here. Alright. Boom. Today, 2 months day. Showing outside big crib in the gang, showing outside shit, man. Gang. Oh, turn. Alright, gang. So, bruh. We know that there's a lot of deep, dark dirt in this industry that has manipulated, ruined a lot of lives, and kept a lot of people in oppression, depression, but it has made a lot of people successful and changed a lot of people's lives into success stories and kept a lot of running homes running. But we got Diddy, man, Jaguar, Wright, Clive Davis, and still 50 Cent and his sons, Diddy's sons. So basically, we're gonna talk about how Jaguar Wright, man. Can we say that she been exposing these niggas to the top? Like, she been really cooking these niggas. Like, really been cooking niggas. Jay-Z, all them niggas. Like, if you think about it, what's going on now? But, this is gonna really talk about what's really been happening. And since that documentary came out, and, we got the 50 Cent documentary, but we done with that, basically. Because, we basically know the drop of everything. We got the Diddy documentary where his son, kind of get their side, but we still dig into the deep of what's really going on. So, shit getting crazy. Hey, gang. So, shout to Industry Street Secrets. We got Jaguar Wright reveal why Clive Davis is terrified of Diddy.
No one tells P. Diddy what to do. Like, absolutely. Who tells him? Clive Davis. In the beginning. No, he didn't empower him. That his ass on the block. He gave him power. And all he had to do was diddle-dee-dee and diddle-dee-dum.
Relationship between Clive Davis and Diddy's interesting because when Diddy's 23 years old, he's making a name for himself. Clive gave him $15 million to start Bad Boy Records. And then later on, they did even a bigger deal where Clive gave him $50 million advance on future earnings. This is 5 years later in 1998. $6 million upfront payment, $700,000 annual salary, and a state-of-the-art recording studio. We're talking about $2 million recording studio. This is when he went after Faith Evans. He got Biggie in the early 90s. This is when it started. But there's a relationship with Clive, and it's interesting because Clive later on, they say something may have happened here because Shook said Clive taught him the bad habits.
It's part of the government. And I say that because that's why it was so easy to snatch motherfuckers down. And all the people that cut, they can't say nothing because they're part of it too.
For decades, the music industry has been built on image, smiles on red carpets, speeches on award stages, stories about talent, hustle, and luck. But behind that polished surface, many insiders have long claimed there is another industry operating quietly in the shadows. One that runs on silence, fear,
This shit getting wild.
and control. When Jaguar Wright said the words, he kept all the tapes, it immediately caught attention.
Y'all
Not
hear
because
about
it sounded
Jay-Z?
shocking, but because it sounded
Boy.
familiar. Like something people had heard before but were too afraid to say out loud. This time, though, she was not just pointing at Sean Diddy Combs. She was pointing upward, toward Clive Davis. Clive Davis is not just another executive. He is one of the most powerful figures in music history. He helped shape careers, decide trends, and control access to opportunity for generations. His influence reaches far beyond any single artist or label. That is why Jaguar Wright's claim hit so hard. According to her, Diddy did not invent the system of power, leverage, and recorded secrets. He learned it, and the person she believes taught him was Clive Davis. This is not about proven facts or court verdicts. This is about patterns, about stories that keep resurfacing across decades, about why certain names always seem protected while others are discarded, and most importantly, about why some people in the industry appear genuinely afraid now that Diddy's legal troubles are no longer rumors. Because if Diddy falls, the question becomes unavoidable. Who stands behind him, hoping their name is never spoken? When Sean Combs was fired from Uptown Records in the early 1990s, his future looked uncertain. He had talent, ambition, and confidence, but he had also made enemies. Many executives believed he was too reckless to trust again. That is when Clive Davis stepped in.
You're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't.
That's a fact.
So once again, why does diplomacy matter? It wasn't diplomacy that got me that award. It was honesty. So understand this. You can save your race shame and your race-baited conversations. Ain't nobody worried about y'all.
Yeah.
We got serious work to do. And after talking to my good friend Paperwork today, it looks like there's some things that I need to make sure that we alert Cash Patel's office about. We think it's of great concern. And I'm sure Mary Flynn would agree with me. She knows how dangerous Diddy can be, with Clive Davis being at the heart of it all. I'm sure that makes it even more egregious. So yeah, last time I checked, I'm American. Prove I'm not, and then have a problem with it.
At the time, Clive Davis was already legendary. He was known as a kingmaker. When he believed in someone, doors opened. When he did not, careers ended quietly. According to public records, Clive provided funding and distribution support that allowed Bad Boy Records to launch successfully after Diddy's exit from Uptown. Diddy has never hidden his gratitude. On major stages, including award ceremonies, he publicly credited Clive Davis for believing in him when others would not. He referred to him as a mentor and guide. On the surface, this looked like a classic success story, a young visionary backed by an experienced executive. But critics argue this mentorship went deeper than music. Jaguar, Wright claims, Clive did not just teach Diddy how to run a label. She alleges he taught him how power truly works in the industry, how to control narratives, how to collect leverage, how to protect yourself
MJ
by
called that
ensuring
nigga
others
Clive
have
out.
more to
So
lose
it's
than
like,
you do.
They just know he got the budget. He go to LA, he talk to Clive, he come back with the bread.
Turns out you should never sue.
He has this man's confidence. Yeah, I'm sure that man was very confident with his penis in his mouth. You know what I'm saying? Clive is a whole freak. You think Clive put him on to all? I know. Clive, that's what he do. Queen Clive. Long may she reign. Hell. When 50 Cent, don't nobody want to talk about why R. Kelly's bus was parked in Clive Davis's driveway, why his tour bus was parked in Clive Davis's driveway at the house where the down between Chris and Rihanna. Don't nobody want to talk about why it was filled with video girls who were being trafficked.
Oh shit.
And he was never questioned by Me Too.
Man, this
Why
shit
ain't
getting
nobody
wild
from
in
Me
a
Too
bit.
saying anything? There's so much to say about Harvey Weinstein, who's now all his charges is being dropped. So much for their investigation. Guess it was a little paper thing. I don't know. These mad talkative. They was on the news every goddamn day. And then they brought that witch McGowan, fresh off a breakup with Marilyn Manson, feeling low, and gave her a cause. You like the with Harvey Weinstein, right? That's real bad.
In this version of events, Bad Boy was not simply a business opportunity, it was a classroom. And Diddy was a student learning lessons that would shape his behavior for decades to come. Again, these are allegations, but there are allegations that explain why so many insiders believe Diddy's rise was not accidental, and why his methods seemed unusually calculated from the very beginning.
So no one tells P. Diddy what to do. Like,
Absolutely.
who tells him?
Clive Davis.
Damn.
No, he didn't empower him. That motherfucker ass on the block.
Damn.
He gave him power.
Damn.
And all he had to do was diddle-dee-dee and diddle-dee-dum.
Insane.
Like, he wasn't going to tell Gene and them that's how he was getting the money.
Damn.
Let's be real about that.
Giving out the ass cheeks.
You think he was going to admit to these? We went to
Clive
school
was
with
giving
who
them. I
essentially
don't
he
fucking
asked
know.
to come to make his G official. Like you heard him say, Christopher Williams, Street, Pete Rock, Albie Short, they could. You know what I'm saying? Gene Deal. Like, ain't nobody looking at how Puff positioned himself. There was a wall of protection and talent and brilliance around him. Nobody had to look at him for real. And the truth is nobody did. Everybody laughed and joked about him dancing like a in all them goddamn videos. Twirling around in circles.
Insane.
It's wild. Like, you know? So I'm just saying, they didn't know. And he wasn't telling them.
They
They
thought he was
just know
just
he
getting
got
there.
the budget. He go to LA, he talk to Clive, he come back with the bread. Apparently.
I mean, be giving them, you know what I'm
Yes,
saying? I
his man's
mean,
confident.
man,
I'm sure
how
that
they gonna
man's
tell
very
gonna
confident.
get up in that bitch? Yeah,
With his
man.
penis
He
in
gave
his
up the
mouth.
cheeks to get the money
You know
on.
what I'm saying?
Insane.
Clive is a whole freak.
You think Clyde put him on to all?
I know. Clive, that's what he do. Queen Clive.
This shit is getting
Long may
insane.
she reign. In hell,
When 50 Cent.
don't nobody want to talk about why R. Kelly's bus was parked in Clive Davis's driveway, why his tour bus was parked in Clive Davis's driveway at the house where the between Chris and Rihanna. Don't nobody want to talk about why it was filled with video girls who were being trafficked. And he was never questioned by Me Too.
Damn.
Why ain't nobody from Me Too saying anything? They had so much to say about Harvey Weinstein, who's now all his charges is being dropped. So much for their investigation. Guess it was a little paper thing. I don't know. These bitches was mad talkative. They was on the news every goddamn day. And then they brought that witch McGowan, fresh off a breakup with Marilyn Manson, feeling low, and gave her a cause.
For years, rumors followed Clive Davis quietly. They
Man,
rarely
that
reached
boy Clive
mainstream
Davis on some
headlines,
shit.
but they circulated consistently within industry
Man, they
circles.
be saying that
Stories
shit,
about
man.
favors,
When they get to the
about
top
power
like that, bro.
dynamics, about relationships
They
that
be on
went
some weird
beyond
shit, man.
contracts and
That's a
boardrooms.
fact.
When Clive Davis publicly came out as
Be
bisexual
eating baby,
later in
be eating
life
humans
through his
and shit.
memoir,
Like, this shit be
many
getting
people
wild.
said it confirmed what had long been whispered. He spoke openly about male partners, but he deliberately protected their
They be on
identities.
that Jeffrey
decision
Dahmer
only
shit.
intensified speculation. Some alleged that one of those protected relationships involved Diddy. During the early years of Bad Boy Records, claims emerged suggesting that the financial backing and industry access Diddy received came with unspoken expectations. These allegations were never proven, but they were repeated by multiple figures over time. Suge Knight publicly claimed that other executives confirmed a deeper relationship between Clive and Diddy. He went further, suggesting Diddy was shaped by exploitation, and later repeated those same behaviors once he gained power. Jaguar Wright supports this narrative, arguing that abuse in the industry is often generational. According to her, those who survive it are sometimes taught to become enforcers rather than victims.
To publish your book. So we can't let these guys go out of business. Is Biggie part of the too big to fail, or are there people way above Diddy that are part of the too big to fail that they'll always be protected, specifically when you say higher ups?
Well, you got to look at it like this. Puffy is one of those black guys who's probably more fear of white America and black America. We deal with black America, we pass all that. They can't get to him. In white America, you got to show them some respect. Or they going to spank you on the ass. Especially now, because when you really look at it, Ciroc was a great company that gave Puffy opportunity. I think he gave him $1,000 to get in, and then he was able to make all this money, and then he wanted more and more and more, and the first time they didn't allow him to throw a tantrum, he hit him with the stuff that people get in with probably. So he told them, hey, you racist. You motherfuckers. They say, yeah. You know, I have to say that I was raised in Compton, but I was made in Vegas at UNLV. UNLV taught me the opportunity to be around people that was business-minded, that was loyal, that was happy. And that's where my lessons came from. So I understand business better than most people. That's why I ain't never been in no damn videos. So at the end of the day, when Puffy went at the alcohol business, I used to play football with John Kennedy Jr. almost every weekend. One of the best guys I ever met and hung out with. We used to play football. But that being said,
is that the president's son?
Family. Most of the big guys come from the bootlegger family. You know, the alcohol was legal. These guys is smart enough to be humble, but wide enough to be aggressive tough. So when Puffy challenged him, and they knew Puffy lived in the glass house, his house came tumbling down because those rocks was coming to that glass house.
All right, gang, hold down, man.
When he called those guys racist, and he knew he had those secrets, those hidden secrets, they ain't just found out that the things Puffy was doing. They ain't just found out how the industry is. They haven't just found out how they pick and choose. They're part of the government. And I say that because that's why they were so easy to snatch Puffy down. And all the people that Puffy, they can't say nothing because they're part of it too.
There is no verified evidence confirming these claims, but what unsettles people is how consistently the same story appears, told by different voices across different years, with similar details. It raises a disturbing question. If these rumors were completely false, why have they never disappeared?
Davis, of course, everybody knows the music mogul, record executive, and everything. And when that story came out, what Suge Knight said about Puffy and everything, Clive Davis' people said, oh, Suge Knight's a disgraced felon. And then it got me thinking. I remember 20-some years ago, David Stern said the same thing about Tim Donahue, the referee who betted on games and got in trouble. And out of his mouth was, well, he's a felon. And they yank to throw that word around to say that people who got convicted of something serious, that they can't ever come back into society, that they can't ever have another opportunity. That's a nice way of brushing them off. However, they never address the elephant in the room.
Man, it's not for
And so when
everybody.
Clive Davis said that about Suge Knight, Suge was talking about the 90s.
They do it for
About
certain
the
people,
releases,
not for everybody.
what was making the round. You know,
Somebody get the
I
same
tell
thing you
anybody
did, you get life. They get
Puffy
like
wasn't
fucking
some
a
great
year or two. You
producer
know what I'm
or
saying? Crazy
composer.
shit.
He wasn't Teddy Riley. He may have grew up in certain areas as Teddy Riley. He wasn't Teddy Riley. So how did he get a credit of a $70 million credit limit on Arista Records to start Bad Boy? You do the wonder and the man. How you get a credit limit when you're not a producer, you're not a singer, you're not a rapper, and you're kind of comical with your dance routines. So you tell me what happened. Something strange. Tim Donahoe, NBA rep. Yes, obviously, that no game. Rasheed Wallace addressed that and all that, and all the bookies, etc. And he did his time. We always look at the NBA, no stuff be fixed and fake. We know superstars, people have been getting calls for years. We know that they want a market to be a market. And those who remember 20 years ago, the Lakers' last run when Shaq and Kobe, and it was Carmelo, Gary Payton, and Phil Jackson, Derek Fisher, and Rick Fox. What came out of David Stern's mouth? He said, if I had my way, it'd be LA versus LA. It's about market to market. Yeah. See, when people tell the truth, I don't care if they have been convicted
It's more
of something
deeper than what people
or
think
not.
about it. It's not really about the people. They want to get that money on
That has nothing to do
and
with the
control
reality.
it.
But I noticed
So they call some shit just to
that
get
Clive
it, you know
Davis,
what I'm
like
saying?
David Stern, like to throw that Fallon word on people to offset from talking about the reality. When we put some stuff together, you don't have to be Einstein or a genius to see, or Dr. Charles Drew or something to put it together, or George Washington Carver to see where the nut is coming from, where it grows. You can see it right there in front of your eyes. There's no element of surprise there. When Jaguar Wright said he kept all the tapes, she was not speaking metaphorically. She was describing a system of control.
Man, why
According
y'all
to
think
her,
them?
the
Man, that gotta
recordings
be
were not
crazy.
accidental. They were intentional. She claims Diddy recorded private moments, parties, conversations, and situations where people were compromised. Not for entertainment, not for memory,
Just for
but
leverage.
for leverage. More importantly, she suggests this behavior was learned. That Diddy did
on
not
that
invent the
ass. What
idea
the
of
hell?
documentation as power. He inherited it from those who came before him. Jaguar implies Clive Davis understood the value of recorded
Blackmail,
secrets long before Diddy did. In her telling, the fear surrounding Clive Davis today is not about direct involvement in crimes. It is about exposure, about history being revealed without filters or protection. There is no public proof that Clive Davis appears on any recording. No tape has surfaced showing his involvement. But fear does not require evidence. Fear lives in possibility. If recordings exist, they do not need to be released to cause panic. The mere chance that they could exist is enough to make powerful people nervous. That is why, according to Jaguar Wright, Clive Davis is watching Diddy's downfall closely, not with sympathy, but with concern. Because once one person loses protection, everyone connected to them becomes vulnerable. Parents, if you're... I don't know, like, because when I've always thought black people started music, just me. Well, the thing is we did.
They copyrighted it.
We were the culture. The Jews and the Italians monetized it.
They copyrighted that shit.
And started setting prices. That's why Clarence Avant was so important to the black community in entertainment. Because he was the go-between for the talent to the powers that be. He understood what their objective was, and he knew what his people needed, and he created that balance. Which is why Clive Davis hated him so much. See, people don't want to... Did y'all see when they interviewed Dapper Dan about Diddy?
I haven't seen that one. Please.
They ran into Dapper Dan in Harlem, and they asked him what he thought about what was going on with Diddy, and if he knew Diddy. And I love Dapper Dan for this. He said, I grew up with his parents. I knew his parents. He said, and what's going on with him has been going on long before him. Now, his father was a government snitch and a bad actor in the criminal world altogether. The woman that they're saying is his mother was a prostitute whore. But there's whispers in the streets of Harlem that Diddy's mother isn't alive. Not his biological mother, that woman is his aunt.
Whoa. Oh,
there are whispers.
Wait a minute.
There are whispers. Diddy's story is so convoluted, but nobody really likes talking about who he was before he became Puffy.
As lawsuits and allegations against Diddy became public, one pattern kept appearing. The parties, the private gatherings, the late-night environments where normal rules no longer applied. Former insiders described these events as carefully controlled spaces. According to allegations, guests were surrounded by wealth, influence, and pressure. Substances were present, boundaries blurred, and recordings were allegedly made. Jaguar Wright claims this system did not begin with Diddy. She argues it was a model passed down through the industry, a way to ensure silence through mutual compromise. In her view, Clive Davis understood this system long before Diddy did. He allegedly taught Diddy how to create environments where people would protect the secret, simply because revealing it would destroy themselves. There is no verified evidence tying Clive Davis directly to these events, but former employees have whispered about a culture where after a certain hour, safety no longer mattered.
The relationship between Clive Davis and Diddy is interesting because when Diddy's 23 years old, he's making a name for himself. Clive gave him $15 million to start Bad Boy Records. And then later on, they did even a bigger deal where Clive gave him $50 million advance on future earnings. This is 5 years later in 1998. $6 million upfront payment, $700,000 annual salary, and a state-of-the-art recording studio. We're talking about $2 million recording studio. This is when he went after Faith Evans. He got Biggie in the early 90s. This is when it started. But there's a relationship with Clive, and it's interesting because Clive later on, they say something may have happened here because Shook said Clive taught him the bad habits, and later on Clive comes out and says the following: yes, record mogul Clive Davis has identified as being by he publicly revealed in his memoir. This is not allegedly. He said it. The soundtrack of my life. At the age of 80, he also discussed in an interview with Katie Couric, expressing the hope that his coming out would contribute to greater understanding of bi-reality.
This kind of system explains why so many powerful names remain silent. Silence becomes survival. Speaking out becomes self-destruction. Whether these claims are true or not, they reflect a broader belief that the music industry rewards loyalty to power more than truth. Not every artist accepted this system quietly. Some fought back, and when they did, the consequences were often severe. TLC's confrontation with Clive Davis is one of the most famous examples. After selling millions of records, they reportedly received shockingly low pay. Their frustration boiled over into a direct confrontation at Arista Records. They demanded answers. They demanded respect. Jaguar Wright connects this moment to a broader pattern. According to her, artists who challenged authority were labeled difficult, ungrateful, unstable. Their careers slowed. Their opportunities vanished. She goes further, suggesting that some artists did not just lose careers, but lost their lives. These claims are extremely serious and completely unproven, but they persist because many believe the industry has never been held fully accountable. In this narrative, Clive Davis represents the top of the system. Diddy represents the student who mastered its rules, and the artists represent disposable assets. Whether or not one believes these claims, they reveal how deeply mistrust runs within the industry.
And good afternoon, I'm Wade Johnson in New York. We're coming back on the air because a judge has just sentenced Sean Diddy Combs to 4 years in prison. He was found guilty over the summer on 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution in connection with his ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura and another woman, but was acquitted on more serious charges that could have sent him to prison for life. Let's get right to our chief investigative correspondent, Aaron Katursky, who's been following this trial from the beginning. He joins us from outside the courthouse in Lower Manhattan. So, Aaron, we just got the verdict right there. We know that Combs himself spoke to the judge. The judge responded. Lay out the sentencing here and what went down in the courtroom today.
This was a very long sentencing hearing which Sean Combs himself, once larger than life, was left begging for mercy, standing at the defense table, telling the judge that he's a changed man, apologizing for his behavior. But that request for a lenient sentence of time served was rejected by the judge, Arun Subramanian, who said it was insufficient to send the kind of message that he wanted to send, that violence against women must be met with real accountability. And so he sentenced Sean Combs to 4 years in prison. That's not as much as federal prosecutors here wanted. They wanted 11 years in prison, reminding the judge that Sean Combs has a penchant for violence and abuse, pointing to 2016 hotel security video showing Combs attacking Cassie Ventura. Combs says he knows that video intimately. He apologized to Cassie Ventura. The judge said 11 years was unreasonable, but 4 years is just the right amount, the judge said, to send a message to Sean Combs, to victims of domestic violence, that their accounts will be taken seriously.
Aaron, thanks. Let's go ahead and bring in a trial attorney and ABC News legal
Struggling with depression.
Contributor Brian Buckmeyer. Brian, we just heard Aaron lay out right there that the defense was hoping for 14 months and credit for time served. The prosecution wanted 11 years. So this is somewhere in the middle. Is this verdict what you expected?
It actually was not what I expected, and this is why I say that. The probation report said anywhere from 70 to 87 months, much higher than the 50 months that the judge gave. And understand, and I'll try to break down the math as best as I can, the judge understands the math of how this all works. With 50 months in the federal system, you only do 85% of that. So you take away about 8 months or so, that's 42 months. And don't forget that Sean Combs has already been sitting in MDC, the jail here in Brooklyn, New York, for 13 months. So you subtract 13 months even from that, you're looking at something like 2 years, maybe 3 years at the end of the day. The judge knew that and still gave this sentence. I think if you're Sean Combs and his defense team, a hard day, but overall a win for them.
Diddy's legal troubles have changed everything. The protection that once surrounded him appears weakened. Lawsuits are public, investigations are ongoing. Former allies are distancing themselves. And when one powerful figure loses protection, others begin to worry. Jaguar Wright believes Clive Davis is afraid not because he committed crimes, but because history may be revisited. Because stories once
he might not have to worry about jail because he old as hell, but if he died, he got to worry about something else.
Diddy recorded everything. Then his downfall threatens more than his own reputation. It threatens an entire era of unchecked power. Clive Davis has survived decades in the industry by controlling narratives, but narratives are fragile when secrets surface. That is why, according to Jaguar Wright, this moment feels different. The silence feels heavier. The fear feels real. For years, the music industry operated on unspoken rules. Do not ask questions. Do not challenge power. Do not expose what keeps the system running. Clive Davis represented the top of that system. Diddy represented its evolution. Jaguar Wright represents the voice that refuses to stay quiet. Whether her claims are true or exaggerated, they have forced a conversation the industry avoided for decades. Because if power was built on secrets, and if those secrets were recorded, then accountability becomes inevitable. The fall of one man is never just about him. It is about who taught him, who protected him, and who now fears being named. So as the spotlight stays fixed on Diddy, one question lingers in the background.
Yes, there were shrines used for rituals. There's bloody places. There's parts where there's limbs. People cut off limbs and want you to have sex in it. There's blood. There's blood that I don't even know who it belongs to.
Damn.
There's a lot.
Imagine being able to build it.
So someone like the people that you've named are here at these shrines where there is human flesh, bones, human body parts, and they want people to participate in orgies in amongst all of this human blood. Is that a satanic ritual? Is this a satanic ritual that they are participating in?
Yes. Yes, there's people who
keep
want
God
to.
First, man.
There's down there. There's people who have animals, dead animals. I was taken and told that I had to give a blowjob to Biden.
So Joe Biden was there at this shrine.
Something happened. I don't know what happened. I was down there for a while. There's certain people that you don't talk about because you just don't. There were certain people that I seen down there, from Beyonce, Jay-Z. You don't tell on P. Diddy, but P. Diddy.
So you said you don't tell on these people. Is that like a code that all victims adhere to? They don't talk about this stuff?
Yes, you don't, because nobody's gonna believe you. You're nothing to them. You don't. You don't count. You're just a toy. You're not essential, as they call them. You're expendable. And as a child in that situation, I wasn't the type of person that was fighting all the time, because I started to learn who I was. I started to learn my pimp. I started to learn what I was in. I started to learn that you don't fight. You watch what you say, you watch what you do. And at some point, I stopped fighting people. And I started to accept the fact of what I was told, that I was special enough to be with this person. I was special enough to be in the eyes of a celebrity or somebody who was on the radio or on TV. And I accepted that.
If the tapes ever come out, will Clive Davis still be untouchable? Let us know what you think in the comments below. If you like this video, hit that subscribe button so that you never miss out on any new videos.
If all that shit come out, all celebrities in that bitch, man, it's over. Man, shout out to Box News Official. So Diddy's son set to break the silence. 50 Cent did a documentary on Diddy. Now, Diddy's son came back out with a documentary about like who Diddy is.
The procession of his children arriving in court for day one of their father's sex trafficking trial in New York.
Insane, bitch.
Solidarity. Do you still believe your dad's innocent? How did you feel hearing that testimony? Have you apologized on behalf of your father? Do you believe your father's innocent? Do you still think your father's innocent? Your daddy got 4 years! Your daddy got 4 years for abusing women!
Damn!
Fight this to the end. He's innocent. Not afraid to start something that's like the OJ all over again.
Hello. This is a prepaid collect call from Federal Correctional Institution, Fort Dix.
Fort Dix.
I'll drop $1 million on your head. Erase you and your whole family, biatch.
Wow.
He's saying it in the song on what he did to get rid of Tupac.
What an idiot.
He's saying this like that is the level of criminality to say, I'm going to get away with it, right? One day I'm at an NBA game, this was 2 years ago, right before he got arrested. I had done like 3 videos on Diddy.
Diddy hired the videographer. Diddy got on the phone with Mark Agnifilo, his lawyer. Diddy knew that Mark was being recorded, but Diddy didn't tell Mark.
Your favorite villain?
My favorite villain? I kind of like Diddy.
Diddy was paying for him and Cassie on Biggie's death date every year. Diddy was hiring these workers allegedly to, create these freak-offs to do things with Cassie to these people, and at the same time was collecting the semen from these men and either rubbing it on Cassie or telling Cassie to rub it on him, or he was collecting it.
In many ways, but in the most important way, in my view, is to protect his children from
from the disgusting things that were going on in his life. So he failed his children, and I found that the most devastating.
Diddy secretly recorded his own lawyers during a legal case, a move considered a betrayal and possible breach of the attorney-client privilege. But one of the longest-standing accusations involves not a lawyer, but a former insider, Reggie Wright, who claimed that Diddy and his former associate Kurt Burrows were involved in a relationship, including an incident where Burrows was allegedly caught performing oral on Diddy under his desk. For years, Wright was mocked for these accusations and dismissed as someone stirring controversy. But when Burrows later sued Diddy for harassment, Wright felt this finally validated the claims he had been criticized for. He believed the lawsuit confirmed what he had been saying all along, even when no one listened. To Wright, the new allegations exposed a truth people tried to bury for decades.
And I told y'all, Kurt Burrows was flaming and waving, and him and Diddy had a relationship, and he's the guy that got caught giving Diddy a blowjob underneath his desk. Don't y'all remember that? Well, now it's all coming out the truth. That, Diddy was, in his words, sexually harassing him, is what his lawsuit is. So
was it his wife or him?
Reggie Wright was lying. Y'all gonna come back and say that? No, you won't. Y'all come up with something else.
After that, Reggie Wright raised doubts about the timing of Burrows' lawsuit, questioning why it surfaced nearly 3 decades later. He argued that Burrows had plenty of opportunities to speak out earlier, especially during a previous interview where he confidently stated he wasn't afraid of Diddy. Wright pointed out that Burrows once framed the situation as nothing more than a rushed business deal that fell apart, not coercion or That contradiction made Wright skeptical of Burrows' current claims. For Wright, the sudden shift in narrative created more questions than answers.
But as I always tell y'all, lawsuits that come out, 27, 28 years later, I have a problem with it. He should have dealt with that 27, 28 years ago. He should have dealt with that 2 years ago when he was sitting over there and had a different tune on Arts Channel. If y'all get a chance, go check it out. I'm telling y'all, he was talking, not tough, because that's not Kurt Burrows' mannerism, but he was like, I wasn't scared. It was all done for a deal. It was, he was going to sign it back, and I forgot, through the haste and the rush and everything, I forgot to get it signed back.
Furthermore, Murad Merali then revealed a disturbing annual ritual tied to Biggie's death, where Diddy allegedly hired workers to perform acts with him and Cassie. He claimed Diddy collected semen from the men afterward, using it in what Merali described as a ritual meant to protect himself spiritually. Merali suggested this wasn't just perverse behavior, but a calculated attempt to shield himself from consequences connected to Biggie's murder. He believed Diddy relied on dark symbolism to create a false sense of invincibility. The allegations added a chilling layer to an already complex and unsettling story.
So it was revealed, guys, that Diddy was paying his worker for him and Cassie on Biggie's death date every year. Every year, guys. Let's keep it real. Biggie, who died so young, on the date of his death, Diddy was hiring these workers allegedly to create these freak-offs to do things with Cassie to these people, and at the same time was collecting the semen from these men and
That's
either
a wild
rubbing it
ass
on
shit.
Cassie or telling Cassie to rub it on him, or he was collecting it. Him doing this around the same
Man,
time
you his kid, you gotta think like, but they was freaks. They freaked
passed
out
away.
free.
I believe he was harvesting some kind of energy
His
to protect
kids
himself
freaked
so
out
that he
free.
never goes down for the passing or death of Biggie.
From Mark Garagos' point of view, he addressed the shocking claim that Diddy secretly recorded a conversation with his own lawyer, Mark Agnall. He confirmed Diddy was fully aware the recording was happening, but chose not to inform his attorney, violating the trust at the heart of their relationship. Garagos avoided speaking for Agnall, but drew from his own experience, recalling how being secretly recorded once made him paranoid enough to meet clients under freeway bridges. He emphasized that confidentiality is the foundation of legal defense, and breaching it is unforgivable. In his view, any lawyer in Agnall's place would be outraged.
Diddy hired the videographer. Diddy got on the phone with Mark Agnifilo, his lawyer. Diddy knew that Mark was being recorded, but Diddy didn't tell Mark. Does Mark feel betrayed by Diddy?
I've not talked to Mark about it.
What do you think? What do you
think? Will tell you I'll just tell you, if it was me, I would be more than a little upset. I was more than a little upset when the client didn't know, and I was being recorded. I mean, there was a while there where I was meeting clients under bridges, freeway bridges, because I was PTSD over it. So I think, as a lawyer, it is one of the
they might get killed or taken out.
Oaths that you take to protect the client confidentiality and the client privilege. So I don't know. I haven't talked to Mark, but if I were Mark, I would be out of my head.
According to legal analyst Elizabeth Vulaj, she highlighted that the documentary's most damaging impact came from its unprecedented access. In a major miscalculation, Diddy hired his own videographer during a legal crisis, hoping to control his narrative later. Instead, the footage revealed private attorney-client exchanges and Diddy's raw reactions, destroying one of his strongest legal protections. By exposing these confidential moments publicly, the documentary turned his defense strategy into evidence against him. Vulaj explained that this mistake didn't just weaken his case, it changed how the world viewed the man behind the scandals.
I think the two key takeaways were, one, everybody's about access to this footage and where it came from. One of the things that I think Diddy had done was he had said he'd hired a videographer. He's someone who films himself, as we've come to know, for most of his career and life. So he had hired this videographer to kind of follow him through this process. I'm not sure if the thinking was, he thought that he might evade the charges and come out with his own documentary afterwards. But just the access of footage that we get, we hear him speaking to his legal team. It's very rare you get an insight into that because, again, that's usually covered under attorney-client privilege. So speaking to his legal team, kind of his own thoughts about what was going on, because also remember, at this point, we really hadn't heard Diddy talk much about this. He had an apology over that video of him and Cassandra Ventura in that hotel hallway months before, but he hadn't really given any interviews to the media. He hadn't spoken about it, probably on advice of his attorneys. So getting access to that kind of information was really something that we had never seen before. It's what a lot of people are talking about.
Meanwhile, a former associate then pointed to another devastating layer of Diddy's downfall, his failure as a father. Footage showed his sons, Justin and Christian, present during his inappropriate activities, witnessing a world they never should have been exposed to. The associate argued this behavior went beyond legal or moral misconduct. It was a deep betrayal of parental responsibility. The man who publicly championed family values privately shattered them. For many, this revelation was the most painful and unforgettable part of the documentary.
His two sons, Justin and Christian, in the video, in the hotel room with him, and the fact that they saw a lot of this. And I remember being in the courtroom and about six of his children spoke at sentencing. And so 6 of them were there for a lot of this testimony. And he failed as a father in many ways, but in the most important way, in my view, is to protect his children from
at least they all know it's out in the open,
disgusting things that were going on in his life. So he failed his children, and I found that the most devastating.
However, Tisa Tells emphasized that the Combs family name had become toxic in the industry. What was once a symbol of power and opportunity now acted as a warning sign, making anyone connected to it appear risky or untrustworthy. She explained that Diddy's brand was built on image, legacy, and the illusion of unity, but the scandals destroyed that carefully crafted identity. As a result, the entire family became collateral damage in the fallout. In her view, their comeback wasn't postponed. It was permanently erased.
Everybody in that family right now is radioactive, and they're not worth the risk.
That nigga had everybody's
secrets.
secrets.
Open doors is now a red flag. Because here's the unfiltered truth. When you build an empire on PR, image, and a family facade, and that facade cracks under scrutiny, your legacy team becomes collateral damage. And right now, all Tweedledee and Tweedledum and their sisters are paying the price.
Damn.
Tick-tock. The comeback clock didn't just stall. It shattered.
On TMT, a caller named Stephanie delivered a blunt message. Diddy needed to take accountability. She noted that he seemed angrier at his lawyer than at his own behavior, showing how fame had distorted his sense of responsibility. Stephanie credited 50 Cent for producing a documentary she called Powerful and Scary, saying it exposed a truth people had ignored for too long. But her final words were clear and
sometimes power
unwavering.
can't
If
be
Diddy
fragile.
truly did what the allegations claimed, then prison was exactly where he belonged.
Diddy needs to take some accountability. He's more mad at the lawyer than his own actions. That fame all has gone to his head, and 50 did a great job on the documentary. It was a scary watch, sad, and if he did have anything to do with everything that they're saying he has stuff to do with, they need to keep him right where he is.
Moving towards former bad boy artist Chopper, he shared a disturbing moment from inside Diddy's private world. When he entered a room to deliver an urgent call from rapper Havoc, he unexpectedly saw Diddy engaged in an intimate act with an influential man. Shocked, Chopper backed out immediately, but the intense moment stayed with him. Instead of spiraling, he channeled that emotional jolt into his work, directing music videos for Lil Kim's Shut Up and its remix within just 3 days. The experience became an unusual spark behind 2 major creative projects.
With this Epstein shit, bro, all this shit just been
put Diddy on the phone.
Man, ridiculous, nigga.
Okay, so I go into the A room. So
animals, babies.
Paulie was there.
All types, like I'm talking
one of his main securities actually. And I'm like, Paulie, say, bro,
digesting
Puff want to talk to Puff, and Paulie was like, I can't do that until Puff green like that. So I put Hov on the phone on speaker, and
we all know Clyde Davis.
Paulie lived the other way.
He was doing. They were doing it way before Diddy.
I seen Diddy and a white man.
They been doing this shit.
White man. Groping.
They just blamed on the main people, the faces of the shit.
When I seen that, I shut the door like, whoa. And next thing you know, I shot Lil Daddy in like 3 days.
50 Cent brushes off the idea of justice for Diddy with cool detachment, framing Diddy's legal drama as a brief, inconvenient episode, rather than a true downfall. He positions himself not as an activist, but as a storyteller, making content that speaks directly to the streets that first made him famous. When called a villain, 50 Cent leans into the label with a sly grin, implying a strange, almost appreciative rivalry with Diddy, the kind only understood between 2 titans who built empires from the same shadows.
Okay, in a word or a sentence, justice for Diddy means...
Justice for Diddy?
Mm-hmm.
I think he's... Just when he'll be home soon. It's not a long thing. Like, it's not.
I, 50 Cent, make films and TV shows now because
I'm finding my original audience.
Your favorite villain.
My favorite villain.
50 Cent won the GOAT, man.
I kind of like Diddy.
Gene Deal broke down the complicated bond between Diddy and Kirk Burroughs, describing it as exploitation disguised as loyalty. He explained that Burroughs felt emotionally tied to Diddy, believing he was defending a friend and leader, but in reality, Diddy used him as an enforcer, someone to handle dirty work and silence critics. Deal stressed that this was never a partnership, it was manipulation. The relationship showed how Diddy leveraged power to control those who trusted him most.
My honest opinion, I think Kirk was in love with Puff to a certain degree, and Puff was using him, and Kirk was giving up the Bujina to him.
Damn!
Anything Puff asked him to do, he would do.
Damn!
You know, he'd go at people. He'd talk. Kirk would talk to you on the behalf of Puff, and I believe that was his man to a certain degree in his mind. And the way he was saying on that documentary, you could feel that they had a relationship.
Moreover, Patrick Bet-David reveals a startling twist from the documentary. Jurors who were interviewed actually sided with Diddy. He explained they saw him not as a predator, but as a victim, a wealthy man being targeted for his money in what they believed was a conspiracy. Their sentiment was he wouldn't do such a thing, viewing the accusations as nothing more than an attempt to take advantage of a rich, high-profile figure. To David, this public support underscores the powerful spectacle of Diddy's persona, one that could sway even a jury's perception.
And by the way, there's a whole section where they interviewed the jurors. Okay. The jurors sided with Diddy.
How y'all allow ops who make up shit?
You have to see what they're saying in the documentary. They sided with Diddy.
In what capacity?
Because they felt bad for him. They're just trying to take advantage of him. They're trying to take money from a rich guy, and that's all this is. It is a conspiracy. He wouldn't do such a thing. The jurors were siding with Diddy, which it's a spectacle.
Additionally, David pointed to one of Diddy's own lyrics as a shocking confession. In the song, Diddy rapped, "I'll drop $1 million on your head," erase you and your whole family. David argued this was not just a boast, it was a confession of his involvement in Tupac Shakur's murder. In his view, Diddy was openly flaunting his criminal reach, operating under the belief that he was above the law. This reckless display of perceived invincibility, captured in his own music, now serves as damning evidence of his mindset, a mindset that ultimately contributed to his empire's dramatic and public downfall.
I'll drop $1 million on your head, erase you and your whole family, biatch.
Wow.
He's saying it in the song on what he did to get rid of Tupac.
What an idiot.
He's saying this like that is the level of criminality
and
to
arrogance.
say, I'm going to get away with it, right? One day I'm at an NBA game, this was 2 years ago, right before he got arrested. I had done like 3 videos on Diddy.
In an interview, documentary director Alexandra Stapleton explained that the documentary intentionally gives a voice to both women and men who are alleged victims of Diddy's abuse. She emphasized that victimhood has no gender. Violence impacts anyone, and every survivor deserves to be heard. For her, the series serves as a crucial platform where these individuals can finally tell their full stories, restore context often stripped away by the media, and move beyond the sensationalized headlines that previously defined their experiences.
Alexandra, you also give time to victims of the alleged abuse. Some of the cases are in different procedural postures, and you show victims who were women and men. Why is that important?
Because, you know, victims...
Because they were trying to take advantage of niggas. That's a fact.
You know, there should be... Gender should not be a part of that conversation. When you are a victim, you are a victim. And I think that, you know, this series was a platform in a way for these
I feel like this is a good series, man, to expose the secrets of the truth of the industry, man.
Put context to their situations.
Somebody doing this shit blind as fuck and don't know what the fuck going on.
The world was going through the salacious headlines. And they really had the time to tell their story.
Moreover, Roger Bonds, Diddy's former head of security, exposed a contradiction at the core of Diddy's image. He said Diddy embraced his black identity publicly, but privately distanced himself from the community that supported him. Bonds recalled an incident where, after an event in Harlem, Diddy immediately asked for hand sanitizer, saying being around the people made him feel dirty. To Bonds, this moment revealed Diddy's true feelings, profiting from black culture, while feeling contempt for it. He believed Diddy's shame belonged not to the community, but to his own hypocrisy.
He only leans into his black roots when it benefits him, so you watch his rise on black culture and black people and how much he abused and rode on other people's talent. And he's touring Harlem, and there's a point where they said he only comes home when the world spit him back out. He gets in the car and starts to talk about how he needs hand sanitizer and he needs to clean himself because he was out among the people and he felt so dirty. And I just looked and I thought, you should feel dirty, dude, for 1,000 other reasons. That is not one of them.
The former associate closed with a powerful reflection on accountability. He argued that Diddy's upbringing lacked real consequences, allowing him to grow into someone who never faced limits or discipline. Now, as his mother writes about him without acknowledging his actions, it raises a heavy question for every parent. Did failing to hold their child accountable shape who they became? The documentary highlights how silence and indulgence can create dangerous patterns. It's a reminder that unchallenged behavior only grows darker over time.
Look, one of the issues I think in the Diddy documentary, this is for any parents that can hear my voice right now, is accountability and holding your kids accountable to their actions. Diddy didn't have anybody doing that. And so as his mother writes this right now.
I mean, Ebro could have did a regular setup and did a fucking podcast and make their own shit. They don't need no fucking radio station.
But to some degree, there will come a time when, you know, you're going to have to ask yourself as a parent, did I hold my child accountable and has that contributed to the behavior that we're seeing?
At the end of all these revelations, one truth became impossible to ignore. Nothing about this story is simple, clean, or accidental. Every voice, every witness, and every piece of footage paints a picture of a man whose world is finally collapsing under its own secrets. The rumors, the denials, and the shifting narratives all show how deep this darkness really ran and how long it was protected. But as more people speak out and more evidence continues to surface, the illusion that once shielded Diddy is slowly disappearing. The story isn't closed. It's still unfolding, piece by piece, truth by truth. And whatever comes next will finally reveal what so many tried to hide for years. If you're following this journey with us, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for the next episode.
Alright, we back. So we can't say that Clive Davis did kind of manipulate a lot of this shit, because he really did have, because he basically had the millions, you know what I'm saying? But you know, they been doing this shit before Diddy. You know what I'm saying? Like, Diddy just like, you know, he just like a clog in this shit. They been doing the goofy shit like this. Like, this shit ain't new. You know what I'm saying? I think, like, Diddy probably was more out here with it, you know what I'm saying, to where he was gonna get caught. But you see how Jay-Z, he tried to clean it up, but shit happening. But that's why I be trying to tell y'all niggas, man, they really got fall guys, you know what I'm saying? Like, the people who really doing this shit, like, the people we would never hear about, the people we would never know about, like, you know what I'm talking about? Like, we would never hear about these people ever a day in our life. These probably some secretive motherfuckers that, you know what I'm saying, they really even had no social security number. Or, you know, shit like that. You feel me? They don't have no social security number. They don't have their name in the system. They don't have their face in the system. Them type of people. That's what we talking about. But, you know, we just trying to help other people, you know what I'm saying, who coming up, growing up, trying to want to be lit, want to be successful, not understand that this world, man, is a cruel, ruthless place. They'll throw you away like a crushed up bottle of Coke, nigga. But stay prayed up. We out this bitch, man. Hood and outside. Big Crippin' Gang. That's all shit.
Hey, Dad, you know, dog, when we link up, dog, this shit be legendary. Even though this is instrumental, you the engineer on it, so Kodak everywhere.